I'm going to share with you some of my stories, some of my insights in the context of female in STEM and specifically in NLP. So hopefully by sharing these stories, you may get inspired as to why to pursue a career in STEM and how to believe in your capabilities to achieve what you want. Um, so, oops. So I grew up in Tunisia, a small country of 11 million people located on the Mediterranean coast of North Africa, where I did almost all my studies. So people usually, when they hear I'm from Africa, the first question they ask me, oh, wait a second, why are you white? So when hearing this question, at the beginning, I felt the urge to explain my background and my European roots and to explain how Tunisia has served as the crossroads for many, civilizations, including Carthaginians, Romans, Ottoman, French, Arabs, which actually made the country diverse. But over time I became really uncomfortable with this type of question. So here I'm going to tell you a little bit about stereotypes and how they are harmful. So most of us fit into different categories. We have a variety of interests and skills. For example, we might like to watch nutrition documentaries, but at the same time, we might like to eat, unhealthy food. We might like enjoy watching sport games and people, exercising in a gym, but at the same time, we're not athletic. So what happens here is that when we think about other people, particularly people who are a different race, gender from us, we often have, a harder time understanding that complexity. So we put people into categories, and thus, stereotypes are formed. Um, yeah, here I wanted to talk about stereotypes, specifically that have been formed over decades about women and men. So people usually think of men as doctors, you know, engineers, mathematicians, scientists, and on the other hand, they think of women as nurses, teachers, or secretaries, and it's causing here. So I feel that this stigmatization is completely wrong, and it's causing a lot of harm to women. And I think that stereotypes are one of the main reasons that are holding women back from pursuing a career in STEM. So the current picture looks more or less like this in technology. We have women that are not allowed to get these high positions in STEM, but what we want the picture to look more like this, where we have all these shades of colors and diversity. And by diversity here I mean gender, race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, etc., etc. So for centuries, women have always been considered as the second and inferior gender in society to men. So I believe that there are many historical, societal, and biological reasons why women were prevented from being the dominant gender. So this means that, if females work hard enough against these constraints, they can live up to their full potential and just be as strong as men. Let me explain why this is the case from a personal perspective. So let me tell you a little bit about my story and how I got to pursue a career in research and in computer science. So since my young age, I was very, very passionate about languages. So I really love to understand the differences between different words, how they have different sounds, how they have different vocabularies and different structures, the meaning of words, the different levels of semantics. And honestly, it was a very pleasurable thing to do in my life. And I think that this passion of speaking languages and enjoying learning new languages is what drove me nowadays to do my PhD in NLP. So yeah, I speak 5 languages. I'm native in Arabic and French. I'm fluent in English, and I have basic knowledge of German and Italian. Um, yeah, and I acknowledge, yes, I am privileged with a family who loves science and who supported me all the way through. They supported my choices and my career, and they were the one who, encouraged me to pursue a career in STEM. So so growing up in Tunisia, my parents, my professors, and my mentors always encouraged me, like any other student, to follow my dreams, and never made me feel like that there are different jobs for men and women. And as a child, I remember that seeing the advertisement on TV showing the first Tunisian women pilots, women soldiers or women scientists, and various documentaries on women in the workforce. So I've always liked science in general, and I remember I didn't think twice before I chose my major or consider the future ahead. I remember I never worried about, reconciling my career choices with being a woman. The idea that certain professions were good for women while others were not. I remember it never occurred to me, and I have never felt pressure from, let's say, the society that I should avoid certain careers, like, for example, being an engineer or a scientist. And I remember that the environment and the culture were really encouraging, and the competition was really, really furious to get into these fields. Uh, I mean, this is not to say that the situation was perfect in Tunisia, but young females were encouraged and respected when they talked about following their dreams in STEM. Um, yeah, so during my high school, I studied mostly scientific subjects like math, physics, and science mostly, and I enjoyed my programming courses. Yeah, I started coding, I remember, in high school in second grade, and I enjoy these programming courses, even though they were very simple, but I really enjoy the fact that I can build things and I can make things run and all of that. So I ended up, majoring in computer science. Um, yeah, and let me tell you here a fact that nearly 50% of those in Tunisia working in STEM are women. And in fact, contrary to the stereotypes, females pursuing STEM studies in Arab world make up to 37 to 54% of their student population. But the story here is that when I moved here to Canada to start my master and my PhD, I was very surprised when people talked about underrepresentation for women in technology. I was like, wait a second. I mean, every class I've been to in my university was filled of women. We aced math and science, but it was not the experience in the West. Um, um, I myself was the chair of IEEE Women in Engineering student branch in my university student branch, and also I was the chair of IEEE Computer Society. Um, so I have never felt that I don't belong to this field, but instead I really loved what I was doing. So yeah, since I moved here, since my undergrad, I have worked in Germany, I have worked in Canada and in the US, and was frequently surprised that the number of women in STEM in Western countries is generally, alarming, which is completely the opposite of what I expected. It was natural to assume that the advantages women had in the West in general would be, reflected in Western STEM environments. So I believe that there are a lot of obstacles that are holding females from STEMs, and I'm gonna discuss some of them here. Um, so the first, obstacle that I think is holding females from STEM is cultural. So women report feeling like they cannot act too feminine if they wanted to be taken seriously, and yet they are perceived as bossy and too aggressive if they show assertiveness and directness, or typically masculine behavior. So honestly, through my experience, I have never felt that acting feminine would cause my colleagues to take me less seriously, nor was I ever worried about being perceived as, pushy and aggressive by my male colleagues. Um, so the next reason and the next obstacle, I think, is historical. In 1875, Herbert Spencer, who is a famous philosopher and sociologist, said that women were naturally suited to domestic work and not suited for jobs such as politics, science, or business. So he stated that this was because women did not possess, the same level of rational thinking. However, actually, many researchers have shown that there are no significant sex differences in general intelligence. Um, the next obstacle is that there is little or zero support from family and friends to study in STEM or to start a career in STEM. Also, there is a lack of confidence, in women's ability to compete in these fields. Um, in fields that men are stereotypically believed to perform more strongly in, such as science, math, and technology. Um, and the last obstacle here that I can think of is motherhood. I feel that many women I know in science and engineering in the US or Canada or Western countries are putting off having children until they are secure actually in their careers. I've even come across those in academia who've waited until they achieved tenure before having their first child. Traditional attitudes and culture about prioritizing family over career puts a lot of pressure on young women, which lead women to avoid career in STEM and maybe to follow an easier path. Um, so here I wanted to tell you a very, very famous story, Apollo 11, and this great achievement in history. And I wanted to tell you about a hidden story that, I didn't know about it until recently. Um, so um, on July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11, with astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin abroad landed on the moon. So it was a great achievement, in space exploration. Yet there is an untold story about this mission that many people are not aware of, and that ultimately led to this success. So what happened is that prior to landing on the moon, the astronauts' attention was disrupted by loud alarms. And the problem was that computers were overloaded and that memories were very low. And thanks to the software created by a young NASA engineer, Margaret Hamilton, the software controlling the computer system began to, handle the error, reinitializing and reassigning task with the highest priority while dropping those of low priority. So Margaret Hamilton, a visionary of her time, had planned for unexpected situations, and in doing so, she had created software that was able to detect, identify, and recover from errors, and this what led to this great achievement. Without her software, we wouldn't have such success in 1969. So there are other many successful women in different fields in STEM. There are hundreds of women out there, women who aced space, math, computer science, electrical engineering, etc., etc. I was not able to put all the women here, but just to give you an idea how awesome and successful women are in the field of STEM. Yeah, so what does it take? What does it take to get into STEM and to be successful? So I think it takes great patience and perseverance. It takes resilience, learning and bouncing back from our failure, acknowledging that we're going to fail at some point in our life, in our career, and try to get the lessons learned. We should respect our differences and provide support for each other. I think we should stand up, for what's right. When you see something going wrong, stand up and say something about it. I think we should adopt a growth mindset and crucially discard the victim mentality as a people of minorities. I'm not as smart as men. This is why I should not go for STEM career. And I think most importantly, we should collaborate. It typically takes a team. So I really believe that collaboration is key for success. And I believe that, teamwork is needed. So this is how science advances. This is how we advance as humans and as scientists. Okay, so to go back to my story, since my young age, as I told you, I was really passionate about languages, and I really, really love the power of language. And what happened is that at the age of 14, I was impressed by the talking machine Hall from Space Odyssey. So this is a very old movie, but I really was impressed at that time by, the capability of a machine to speak. So I was impressed by the idea of how a machine can have like a human-like conversation with the humans. Ever since that, I was always thinking, oh, this is very cool. How can we make a machine talk? How can we mimic humans' behavior? How can we transfer our talking capability into a machine? How can we build a machine that can understand what we say and replies accordingly? And it turns out to be my research area nowadays. In 2018, I completed my master in computer science, and the topic was about how to use deep neural networks to generate fluent and informative responses in an open domain dialogue system. So the system had to learn how to generate fluent responses based on millions of dialogues. And during that time, I discovered a passion for research. I really enjoyed what I was doing. I really enjoyed the fact that, okay, I'm building a program that I can talk to. But the question here, did I face adversity? Yes, a big yes. So the road for me was never easy. There were ups and downs. There were difficult moments where, I wished I could quit. I discovered that research is very demanding. And if you can't balance between your personal life and your work, you will end up burning out and you will end up getting depressed. Yes, research is exciting, but it's moving very fast. Every day there are hundreds of new papers coming out that are exciting, and you feel the urge to, read all of them. You feel like you're in a race. But despite going through, these hard times, I enjoyed my master, so I decided to start my PhD after just finishing my master to continue working on the same topic, dialogue. Um, at the same time, I remember I started attending many conferences and summer schools, and I think attending those conferences allowed me to build and expand my network and to meet wonderful friends and collaborators. Also, I had the chance to attend the Grace Hopper in 2018, and I think it was a great experience for me that offered a lot of opportunities and opened many doors. Actually, it was through these conferences that I had the chance to land research internship position at three leading companies in AI: Google, Microsoft, and Apple. So to tell you very briefly about my experience here, I was really intimidated to apply to these big companies. And if I didn't talk to their research team during conferences, I wouldn't, go ahead and, submit my application to intern and work in these companies, because I was all the time thinking that I'm not good enough. Who am I to just compete with these great and brilliant thinkers in this field? I would never be accepted. But I feel that at the time when I met them there, they just explained the process and they encouraged me, and they were the one, reaching out to me and, asked me to submit an application and, invited me to the interview process. Um, so here I want to also talk a little bit about the positive side of things. I feel that despite the gender gap, on the diversity issues here in Canada and in several countries around the world, progress is being made. I feel that several companies are, and also several schools and universities are implementing systems to improve gender diversity and to create women and mother-friendly work environment to help women with the challenges they face in their STEM careers. Yeah, so here the take-home message. So I want to tell you just to pursue your dreams with grit, resilience, and never, never give up. Remember that we're stronger because of our diversity, not in spite of it. Let's create a space, a safe space for women in STEM to flourish. And I think that diversity is really enriching for the work environment. So please, please believe in yourself and, you know, start pursuing a career in STEM and don't be intimidated. Thank you so much.